Hello and welcome to
Hey, we like your pod.
And we're going to tell you why. Hi, it's Dawn here, joined by my trusted partner, Matt Pickett, back from vacation.
I'm back.
You're
Yeah.
back. We missed you so much with your beautiful family of mostly girls. We want to hear about your vacation. We missed you. It was terrible, just awful, awful without you here. And how was your vacation, Maddie? And how's the fam?
Okay, well, first of all, awful without me here. That's ridiculous. The show last week was amazing. I think I need to leave more often to have these awesome shows. But the vacation was great. For the most part, I mean, as great as it can be, like 11 people in a house is a big house, though. They're sort of competing, like, these people want to do this thing and these people want to do this thing, and like the kids are freaking out. But I don't mean to complain. It was a great time. I love Michigan, and every time I go there, I love it more. So just having the time to be there. We were in Holland, Michigan, which is really close to Lake Michigan, which I love also. So it was a really great time. It was nice, and just having that time to connect with my sister, who is really one of my favorite people on the planet, but I hardly get the chance to ever see her, and we're so busy with our kids and stuff. So it was really nice, and yeah, then getting back into the grind this week at work. I'm like, oh, I hear all the things you didn't do last week, so thank you. So it's been like a really crazy week at work. Like I've just been just making it through, Don.
Oh man, that's not fair. I don't think that's fair that work stuff has to pile up when people go on vacation. But
I mean, I will say, in all fairness to my colleagues, there are a couple of my people who things they would have asked me to do for them. They're like, I'm just gonna figure this out while you're gone, so you don't have to do it when you get back. But they're just enough things that are like, oof, gotta get on top of that. How was your last couple of weeks since I haven't seen you in 2 weeks? What's been going on?
I know it seems like forever. Well, if I told you, I would start bawling. So I've been crying for this is the 4th day. That feeling when you've cried, and it's just like a feeling in your eyes and your throat and your chest and your stomach, even if you're not crying. It's like I've constantly got that feeling going.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's just been hard, Maddie, because the kitties. It's more kitty drama. I just cannot seem to have a pet without drama. So our listeners, maybe we have some new listeners, but so I have Tosh and Pepe LaFleur and their kitties, and Tosh came first, and she's still technically a kitten. She's 11 months now, and everything was going great. Pepe's been here about 2.5 months, and it really has gone super, like, if anyone knows about cats, it's not always an easy transition, and they got along and they played, but Tosh has developed a GI problem. It's serious. It involves bleeding, and it's scary. No. And the vet told us on Monday that, and it's been on the back of my mind, that, maybe Tosh needs to be alone with me while we get this worked out. So Pepe's going back to LA tomorrow.
Oh, for how long?
I'm looking for a new home for him, because depending on what is happening, it may actually be a problem bringing him back in. So
it
may or may not. Yeah, I'm willing to adopt him now. In fact, I've been working on that, and it's just been awful. In fact, right now he's been since Tuesday morning over at a friend's house just so Tosh can be here alone, even though, and she doesn't seem to miss him, which is interesting. She doesn't not miss him either, but I think she's just kind of, she's on medication and stuff. So she's just kind of, but poor Pepe. So my friend's like a mile away, and I go over there every day. It's so hard because he's like, what is happening? And yeah, so, but I think they're picking, the transporter is coming tomorrow. Anyway, it's been so hard.
Yeah. Hard. Digital hugs to you and your kitties.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I know you're one of the few people that I was going to post about it, and then I start posting, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't. We'll see. I mean, once he's settled back with Jordan in his foster home and all that, I'll feel better. I don't like him being over there temporarily and all that, so it'll be better for him. He fit in so well, and it was interesting. I might save this for later on the show to talk a little bit more about our last week's show, but pets have personalities too.
Mhm.
And what I've really discovered is that Pepe LaFleur is a narcissist. But not, and I don't mean that as an insult, because I know a lot of people are like, I don't mean it that way. He just is. That's just what he is.
Mhm.
I'm not putting him down. We love him dearly. In fact, he fits in really well here because both Tosh and I are empaths. And he wants to kind of dominate, and we don't care. We're
Mhm.
like, okay, you go ahead and do that. But evidently, it's whether she's sick because of this or it's not helping her, either way, according to the vet, it's getting to her and she's not
Mm.
eating. So, and we do tend to internalize things, some of us.
Sure. Yes.
So it's been, so last week's episode is like, wow, I've been really thinking about, and when I used to hear people talk about their pets having personality disorders, I'd be like, oh, it's just a dumb cat, or it's just but it's actually, I know they have personalities and stuff, but every single one of my Scottish deerhounds were very different
Yeah.
personalities. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
anyway, yeah, she's super sensitive like her mommy. So, but yeah, so I don't know if she's going to come back.
That's sad.
It's really hard, but I also knew it might not work out.
Sure. Sure.
I kept it that way, and it wasn't horrible. Like a lot of people are like, "Don't do it; you're gonna hate it." There's all these things can happen. It really wasn't that bad, but a serious health problem is a serious health problem.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, so that's that. So that's the big explanation, everyone. I didn't want to post about it because it's a little, yeah, it's a lot. Anyway, so wow. NBA finals are tonight. I haven't even been watching it.
Me neither. Nope, not much of a basketball guy. I was talking to one of my new advisees today. Huge basketball guy, kind of a football guy. So we are able to kind of meet in the middle a little bit and talk about some
Mhm.
stuff. But it was actually just kind of interesting listening to him because he, our first question, of course, is like, so what's the team that that you follow? What's your team? He doesn't have one, even though he's a huge basketball fan. He just really likes certain players, and he follows the players more than the teams, which I thought was really interesting.
That's cool.
And made me wonder, how many people do that with football? How many
I
people?
would, if I swear, if I weren't from Wisconsin
Mhm.
and required by my family to be a Packer fan, and I genuinely am a Packer fan because of that,
Mhm.
but because of the memories and everything. But I like all teams, well, almost all the teams, and I like several different players and stuff. So I love that. That's so cool. I wonder
Yeah,
if anyone listening is kind of falls under that category too. I think I love the sport. I didn't always, but now that I'm watching it, it's like, this is great. I love it. Okay, so right now the Warriors are 54-39. It's looking, they've been, and it's halftime. So they've been a little stronger the last couple games. So
Mhm.
it's probably going to go to the Warriors. And I don't even remember, are they in the yard, or where are they playing?
I do not know.
Huh. I don't know if they're playing in Boston. I think they're playing in Boston. I feel like they're playing in Boston, but oh well. I don't really care that much. I was sort of like looking forward to Boston winning, but that's okay.
It's just
Not
something exciting, championships for the end of a season. It's
Yeah.
fun, definitely. Yeah, I definitely got more into it last year, because of
Well,
just my whole entire timeline being super excited about the Bucks.
oh,
But
so great.
yeah, regardless, still, yeah. No, I mean, I haven't tried to get invested in it this year, but I know it was a lot of fun last year for sure. So yeah, good
I
stuff.
like it. I like it. Yeah, last year was way more fun. Well, let's do our superlatives, our signature superlatives, our main theme of our show when we don't have a guest, and sometimes when we do have a guest too. So I'm going to start tonight,
Go for
we're
it.
switching it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So here we go. So my first superlative I think it's a little timeless. So even though it's a couple weeks behind on the article, I still think it's an interesting discussion to have, and I'm curious what you will think about this.
All right.
So I'm calling it the most annoying, and annoyed is the title of this show, and this is why. So there was an article called in the extra points segment of the WTMJ online journal, and it's called Annoyed by Bryan D, and it was on June 1st, so it was a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Basically, the gist of it is this: Matt LaFleur was annoyed on Tuesday. I saw the press conference. I didn't know if he was annoyed or not, but maybe not. So I'm wondering what you think about that. For the second consecutive session of the OTAs, a long list of veteran players headlined by Aaron Rodgers did not show for the OTAs. Okay. So, but I will have to say, the reason I'm bringing this up is I always wonder about Aaron's judgment in terms of leadership decisions. Did you just delete that?
That's just something weird in the script. I'm sorry about that. I was trying to figure something out. And
can you do
Control Z?
undo?
Yeah. Sorry about that. Whoops. Hey, folks. Sorry.
Trying to I'm like, ooh, is it me? Yeah. So, so that brings up some leadership questions. Again, I'm not, I'm going to be honest about how I feel. I always am, but I'm curious what everyone else feels. And I know this discussion was had a couple weeks ago, but I still think it's kind of something that gets to some people, or it's interesting to others. So obviously these OTAs were voluntary technically. And of course, there's always the side to it that, well, then Jordan Love gets the practice. Of course, I'm all for that. But at the same time, that didn't stop other great players from around the league from showing up to their voluntary OTAs, including Mahomes, Josh Allen's. Yeah. And so it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. It's a decision. It's a choice. Okay. And so we just have to remember all these little choices we make in life, whether we're a star quarterback or just little podcasters, they all add up. And so the article is like, hey, those guys aren't just other dudes. They're fellow Super Bowl contenders, and they didn't need to show up, but they wanted to. So so Jordan Love got his snaps and all that. So I'm kind of inclined to agree with the annoyed. I'm not going to lose my head over it on Twitter or anything like that. In fact, I'm not going to say anything, but I do sometimes wonder about Rodgers' decision making, and I know he's working on himself and all that, but we all are, man. So it's multitasking. So that's my first superlative, most annoying. And it could be most annoying because you don't want to hear about it anymore. It could be most annoying because you agree, or it could be most annoying because you vehemently disagree with Bryan D from WTMJ. So what do you think, Maddie?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question. The whole topic is fascinating because, first of all, the NFL has really become a year-round thing. Even the offseason, they're talking about things, they're writing about things. I mean, for as hard as it can be to think of like superlatives in a given week, given how like there's less content, there's still always content. And part of that content will be driven by like what little, crumbs there are to go with. So if we're going to blow something out of proportion, like Aaron Rodgers not showing up for part of OTAs for the optional part, that's kind of what people have to run with. And of course, how do you not compare that to like what other quarterbacks are doing and using that as a way to further the narrative that so many people have about Aaron Rodgers as being, a diva or like egotistical, or he probably is all these things, but regardless, like also, so are probably a lot of football players. But my point is that it's tricky because I feel like I can understand the arguments on both sides. I understand like the people who are the Aaron Rodgers apologists who say like, oh yeah, I know he's a two-time, a two-year consecutive MVP, whatever it is, 4-time, whatever. He doesn't need to be there, he's fine. But then the people are like, well, he needs to like develop that chemistry with receivers, and the counter argument is like, no, what they're there to like learn the basics of the playbook, and they'll learn Aaron's playbook later. You can go back and forth on it. It's like I think there are good points on both sides. And was Matt LaFleur annoyed in that conference, first press conference? Like, I think he was, and I think if I were him, if I were him, I would be annoyed too, because back in my previous life as a band director, before I moved to Cincinnati, if there were students who had an excuse to not be at a rehearsal, and it was like a good excuse, I was still annoyed. If they were like, especially like the the lead trumpet player, somebody who is like one of the most important
Right.
members of the ensemble. You could like say, no, there's no more important member of the ensemble, but that's nonsense. Of course there are. The lead trumpet player is more important to an ensemble than like the third trombone. Like, speaking as somebody who has played plenty of third trombone, I can definitely say that. So like, yeah, if your star quarterback isn't there, if a bunch of your veterans aren't there, of course it's gonna be annoying because you're trying to like accomplish things as a team. So
I know, right?
so it's complicated. There isn't that. I don't think there's a right side. I think there's just like really good points on either side, and I get where LaFleur's coming from.
Yeah, and that's why I thought, even though it's 2 weeks out from this particular article in that press conference, it's still something that stuck with me, kind of stuck with me. And of course, I jotted it down 2 weeks ago, but I'm like, this still sticking. I mean, is it timeless? I think it's only. I mean, any star quarterback for the NFL wants to be an egoist or a diva. That's fine. That doesn't bother me at all. I'm like, bring it on. Like, let him be a diva. That's cool. He's talented, all that. The only part that interests me really is the whole thinking behind. Okay, so we've really come so close. We've been first number 1 seed for the last 2 years. We're so close. Rodgers is so more close to the end of his career than he is to the beginning. We can't deny that. I mean, he doesn't have endless years in him. I mean, maybe, but I doubt it. I mean, he was already talking about possibly retiring himself. So it's because of those two things, so close but not quite there. His performance in the playoffs, I'm sorry, it's important. And so the fans and probably the coaching staff, like you said, when you were a band leader, you're looking at that like, is he really into this? Does he really want to win the whole shebang, or is he just showing up for another season? And then he got paid all that money too. So it's like, hey, we invested, the fans love Rodgers and are behind him. But so, I mean, I don't think he really cares what anyone thinks. That's fine too. That's okay. He should. I mean, in a lot of ways, he really shouldn't, right? Because it's got to do him, right? We got to do you. But I think it's a conversation that, unfortunately, in his case, is always going to come up. Yeah. So Absolutely. That's why I brought that one up. So it's still annoying. It's annoying for a variety of reasons. It's annoying because it keeps coming up. It's like, it wouldn't be annoying if we would win. Then we'd be like, go ahead, don't go to the OTAs. We're good. Let's get that next quarterback ready. Bring it on. Like, cha-ching. So, yeah, I think it's because we're so close. It's not like we were way out there. We were the number 1 seed. We should have at least showed up at the Super Bowl the last 2 years.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry for anyone who's annoyed. That's why I named this particular episode on my own. I'm like, yeah, it's annoying. So, Maddie, what do you have for us?
Yeah, so I have two superlatives this week. We're going back and forth. So my first one is going to be most welcome return. This is going to our pal, friend of the show, Dusty Evely. He was out of the sphere, the Packers sphere, for a couple of weeks. He was on vacation, and then I feel weird saying, and then he got sick, because it's like that's his health information, but like it was very public. He was on Twitter about it, so I can say if you follow Dusty, you'll know this. If you don't follow Dusty, what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Get with it. So supposed to say, Dusty was gone for a while, so he wasn't on the podcast. He wasn't writing anything. It was a very much a well-deserved break he had from content creation for sure, and it's a bummer he got sick. That sucks, but having him back on the Wednesday Pack-A-Day, having a new article on Packer Report that he put out that was spectacular. It was a good, short, informative article. It was called Revisiting 2021, Love-to-Lazard in KC. So just going over the touchdown that Jordan Love threw to Alan Lazard, and he chose this one because Lazard just signed the tender and is like officially in the fold for the season, which is good. I never thought he wasn't going to be, but it was good to like have it for real,
right? Get it done.
Yeah, so I think to kind of like I don't know, maybe recognize that, almost like commemorate. It's not quite commemoration, but recognize that and celebrate it. Dusty was like, well, it's one of my favorite plays from Lazard from the season. And it was really cool how he broke it down because, you know, Dusty is just every year gets even better and better at like illustrating the things using the video. I could say it more fancy than the video of the thing, you know. And so to see like how he explained like the smash concept they used, how it worked out and why it worked, and kind of like the little adjustment that Lazard made at the end to like duck the guy who was trying to knock him down and then like waltz in for a touchdown. It was just really fun, you know. It's like one of those things that takes like 2 minutes to kind of go through, but then you kind of take a couple more minutes. Oof, then you can take a couple more minutes to digest it, think about it, and watch it again and kind of get some more layers off of it. So
Yeah.
just, you know, typical excellence from Dusty. So most welcome return to our friend Dusty.
Welcome back, Dusty. I personally was very worried. I'm not a worrying type of person, but I was concerned. You're always concerned when somebody's not well, and because I knew he was out doing his vacation, and I know what that's like when you're trying. I got super sick one time. I went back for a vacation, and I still did all the things, right? Because you don't want to be like, well, I don't want to do this now because I think I'm just going to lay on the couch. So it's like my mom, my sister, everybody, my cousins, they're just counting on me, right? So, and I'm sure Dusty, being the dad and all that, had to do all the things and still be sick. And so I was like, oh, I hope he doesn't make himself worse. So that's all, you know. So really happy. And he did still sound like he had a little bit of congestion left. So he must have really got hit hard, because it's been a few weeks, I think, that but yeah, fun vacation. He's into horror, if you don't know Dusty, and he went to the what's the Bates? No, not the Bates. That's California. Where The Shining was filmed, the hotel.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was like, that's so Dusty. That's really cool. Well, yeah, welcome back, Dusty. And as far as that particular write-up thingy, I don't know what to call it, that he did, that you mentioned. Yeah, he not only is it great for learning, but what I find with that kind of thing, and with that particular one that he did, is it's kind of priming us to get ready for 2022. It was a great, you know, thing to review. I mean, even though we didn't make it all the way, it was still a fun season, right? Yeah. So no matter how annoyed you might be about anything, just don't get that annoyed. Just enjoy a lot too, because there's so much to enjoy. So that's one of the things two of the things really that I liked about it. So it's enjoyable, and you're learning, and well, actually three, and getting primed for 2022.
Yeah, that's right.
It's so excited. Can you believe how close it is?
Makes your mouth water a little bit. Gets you excited about it. A little appetizer, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you have, Don? You have another one for us, right?
Okay, so I have a non-NFL superlative next, and this one came up just yesterday. This one is kind of maybe timely. It's probably not timeless like some of the ones I prefer to mention. So this one's just a weirdo thing that came up. An acquaintance of mine on one of my social media channels, who I just follow her because she has a new pet pig, and she does these great reels every day with the pig, and they're hilarious. And then all of a sudden she posted this thing about being down this rabbit hole. So this is biggest rabbit hole. And she kind of made mention of the person's name and stuff. And I had no idea it was. And I've been kind of keeping up on true crime and stuff. And so well, is it true crime? And they're like, oh, girl. And I had like 20 people answer my like within a minute. And I was like, oh my God, with all these groups and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm not getting any Facebook groups, but I will check this out. So last night, while I was sobbing about my cats and needed something else to think about, it's just like a great thing to just think about something stupid that didn't matter. Well, it isn't. Well, I'll let you be the judge of that. So I didn't go on Facebook where they were directing me, but I went on YouTube and looked up this gentleman's name. His name is Dustin McKissen.
Okay.
Dustin McKissen. And it's so basically I'm calling it one of the latest conspiracy theories to take hold of the interweb. So there's this Dustin McKissen, and his allegations: his father is a serial killer, and that his parents killed his baby sister. What? But that he was kept like in a home isolated and he has a twin brother and he didn't know about it. Blah, blah, blah. It just goes on and on. I mean, it is an Alice in Wonderland kind of thing. And so I'm like, okay. And I watched what he had, and just like they said, it's like, well, you're gonna watch one, you're gonna watch the next. I'm like, okay, I want to just see what this is to get it. Like, do I want to get into this or not? Because it's kind of they make reference to a lot of things, but there's nothing really there. And so I'm calling it kind of like he does this word salad, and so he's making it to this, he's trying to do this conspiracy. So you know who he's appealing to? People who really want to get into conspiracy theories. And he's saying, you should be interested in this in the name of justice, which of course is important to me. But at the same time, it's like, isn't law enforcement on top of all this stuff? I mean, he's saying his father's involved in huge things like bombings in Saudi Arabia at the at Egypt, at the Cairo train station that happened in, I think it was the 90s. And then this family, I forgot what the name is, some cabin, Kenny Cabin, which is up here, up north of me, far north of me, murders that were never solved. He's saying he was involved in that. And it's like, who is this man? And really? Right. And then he's like, well, I have these, he left his teeth in all these phones. And it's like, well, the phones, and he had gloves on when he showed the phones. And it's like, that just looks like somebody's old phones. Like, not like he had 20 burner phones in 1 year. It just looked like somebody who never threw his phones away over the years. It was just a progression of phones from like the 90s on. And it was just kind of like, okay, so I'm just going to say, if you're interested, I want to hear if any of my listeners are interested in this and what they think. I personally think it's highly suspect, even though what some of he says might be accurate. I think, that's the thing about conspiracy theories. They lace a bit of truth in there. And I think this man, he's a professional contributor like CSNBC. So he's articulate. His wife is pretty articulate, but she's also very weird. Like the way she looks at the camera, it's like she's trying to romance the camera. And it's like, this is just so weird.
This sounds very strange. No doubt.
It's so rabbit hole. It's like, what is happening? And then yesterday, this is what put me over the top. Yesterday, he put up some job opportunity he wants to help people get jobs on Veltri. And I'm like, this sounds really fishy. This sounds like some kind of what do you call that? Not a huckster thing.
A huckster?
Huckster.
That's like such an old-timey word.
I know. I heard that word. I heard that word today, and I'm like, that's a perfect word. I had written down hustler, which is true too, but he's like a con. It's like a con job.
Yeah, it sounds like it could be. He might be no better than a 2-bit huckster.
Anyway, but I went ahead and listened anyway because I needed to take my mind off of my cat. But yeah, she comes off kind of strange. But I don't know. I'm just curious if you're looking for, again, this is another like summer, like this would be like a cheap novel kind of thing. I wouldn't recommend it as high-end reading or anything sophisticated in any way. But yeah,
where you're thinking like maybe is this an unreliable narrator situation? You're wondering if like you can trust the narrator because it might be a huckster.
He might be a huckster. I would never have thought of that word, but I did hear it today on an NFL podcast.
Really? I'm curious who was saying huckster on an NFL podcast. What was it? Do you remember?
What was it? It was somebody that nobody here is going to appreciate that I listened to, but I did listen to today. Florio. Sorry. It's Florio. It's okay. He does have redeeming. Everyone has redeeming qualities, but I pop in on his because I think I mentioned he's a lawyer and he gets really good information about the NFL law stuff and the Watson thing and all that. So I just popped on there. What was he talking about? He used the word huckster anyway, and and he's old like me, so I thought I'd add that because I wrote it's a bit of a hustle, but
Mhm.
Yeah, so and I don't want to like be judgy or any other thing like that. It's just kind of, I say it's kind of fun. Look at it. I would say if you're interested in just kind of being like, huh, what is this? It's that they don't have that many videos yet. He says, oh,
Mhm.
we're going to do another video. So it sounds like he's really gearing up to put, and he keeps referring to all this information they're going to share, but they're not going to do that just yet. So it's kind of like that. I don't know, but it's wild. He's got pictures of his father at the train station right before it blew up.
Mhm.
He's got, and there's and then there's an element of, they were part of a cult, and they got some evidence about that. And he really does believe that his father is a serial killer. And
Wow.
Right. So that's my little fun,
Rabbit hole for our listeners.
rabbit hole romance novel, true crime weirdo thing.
A huckster hole.
Huckster hole.
Do you know, did Florio grow up in Minnesota? Do you know anything about his background?
He talks, I mean, I think he's from New Jersey or New York.
Okay.
And he did mention, and I do remember, because I think people have asked him, why are you a Vikings fan? I think it's because he didn't have a football team to follow at the time when he was, he just fell in love with the Vikings when he was young, basically.
Okay. I was thinking like huckster does some kind of like something that you would hear on Prairie Home Companion back in the day when Garrison Keillor was doing it. Like it's something that like Barney down at the tap or whatever would use that word or something from the Norwegian bachelor farmers or whatever. Did I ever tell you that I met Garrison Keillor?
I met Garrison Keillor too.
Really?
Shut up.
Can I tell you a story real fast about Garrison Keillor?
Tell us.
He insulted me to my face. So yeah. I'll try to keep the story fairly brief, but in high school, the high school chorus that I was in at the time did a trip to the Twin Cities, and it was a bunch of different things we did, including going to a live recording of Prairie Home Companion.
Neat.
And it somehow like word got to him that there was like a school chorus in the building, so he had us actually like sing on air, which was kind of cool. Like it wasn't planned or anything. He just was like, you have a song you'd like to sing for us? And we're like, sure, yeah, totally. So we did that, and then afterwards he came out in the audience and like talked to us. And I had this shirt on, something about like trombone or something, because definitely, just as I'm often wearing Will Packer shirts, back in the day I wore a lot of trombone t-shirts, a very big part of my identity back in the day, and much less so now. And so anyhow, I was wearing a trombone shirt, and Garrison Keillor comes up to me and says, do you know what sorry, try that again. Do you know what the definition of a gentleman is? Somebody who knows how to play trombone but refuses to do so for others. I was like, come on, man. Rude. Just out of nowhere. Like, you don't know me like that, Garrison Keillor.
Especially because you were a high school kid.
Yeah, like he's like coming after a high school kid. Like I did not know how to. I was just kind of like, there's laughter. I'm like, okay, I guess.
Wow,
that's a weird move, dude. So
he's got a vibe. He's got a vibe. We know that now, right? I used to listen to that show. Even out here every Sunday, people were like, "You're listening to what is it?" And it's.
I grew up on it. I listened to it every single week.
I know, and I knew people out here that are from Minnesota, and and they didn't know who he was.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, yeah. But he gave me that vibe. He gave me this because I mean, he just was with his family out here, because we see a lot of people out here.
Sure, people come there to vacation, I bet, right?
Vacation, and people that live in LA or Malibu, and they come down here for the weekends and stuff, because it's way better down here. I mean, it is. I mean, it's quieter and prettier.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he gave me that vibe. It was kind of like, I was probably the only person of thousands of people around who knew who he was. And
for people who are only listening, sorry, Don. For people who are only listening, that you should go and find the video on YouTube for the face that Don made him try. It was awesome. Yes, that's good stuff.
Oh, okay. So that was it. That was my biggest rabbit hole, and I think rabbit holes are great for summer, especially people who are like, oh gosh, now the basketball's going to be over and football's not starting for 8 weeks. What am I going to do with my life?
Mhm.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Rabbit holes.
Rabbit holes.
And extra holes. All right, so it's my turn for one now. I think I got one right. So my other superlative for the week, and normally I try to bring 3, and having been away for half the week last week, and then having the backlog of work, and also podcasts, like my apologies to our listeners for only having 2 instead of 3 this week. But anyhow, my other one is best mental health. I don't have a name for it, but basically it was like the podcast that you did last week with Steve Furhutch and our friend Jamie was amazing, and I was just so excited to listen to it. The vulnerability that all 3 of you showed, the advice, the like trying to help the further cause of normalizing mental health concerns, and the importance of getting help, finding strategies to help, sharing wisdom about that. Just everything about it was so good, Dawn. And I was so just impressed with the whole entire thing. So that is definitely my second superlative. I don't have a good way to sum it up in a best whatever. I could say best podcast, I guess. I don't know.
Most healthy.
There you go. Most healthy. Yes.
Most healthy. I hope to. I hope so. Yeah, I was quite happy with all the resources that the 3 of us were able in combination to put out there. I will say, for our listeners if you didn't listen last week, you can always catch it again. I mean, it's not like our podcasts go anywhere, or YouTube or there. It's all over. I mean, we're on Facebook, YouTube, wherever. In any case, I really appreciated the resources, but I will say some of the resources, the links weren't working really well. They disappeared and stuff. So if you are having any my whole point of this is if you went to any of the links and you didn't find what you were looking for, join the club. Let us know. And they particularly were one section. So just let us know if there were any links that we mentioned, or any resources, that we mentioned, and you want the link for it. Just let us know wherever you are listening. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We want you to have those resources. And we want you to know that you're loved and that people are listening. And I really appreciated Steve's messaging about how men are, it's so stigmatized really for men. And I feel like it's stigmatized. Like if you're from the Midwest, it's also kind of like, suck it up kind of.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little behind the times. And so it's not real healthy. It's not real healthy. So yeah, so I'm glad you liked it. I was looking forward to hearing what you would think.
Unabashed enthusiasm. Surprise.
Well, I mean, you don't have to say that, but I know you're being honest, and I know you would give your like, I know, let's just say for those listening, if Matt really was like, oh, it's so, he would be just like, it would have been a polite recognition of what we did, and we would have moved on. I know, Jen, you're genuine, and so you wouldn't, make things up. So cool. Well, I'm glad you liked it. And again, if you're listening and you haven't heard last week's episode or any of our, this is 41st episode for us. We have 40 episodes you can listen to. So forget about the rabbit hole. You can go down the rabbit hole of that.
Kind of like relive the season, kind of the journey through it, and then into the off season.
The emotional highs and lows and all the good content, because all of there's so many speaking of resources, there's so many resources in all those show notes too. So
go back and find the episode that we did right after the 49ers game, and we won that game, and we both got on and we were like just crazy excited. No, not the end of the season.
The
one on Thursday night. That was, I think it was a Thursday night football game.
That was crazy. Yes.
And after the Cardinals game, I think that was another one where we got on after it. And
that was like, this is it. This is the turning point.
The highs I'm talking about.
The highs. You gotta remember those highs.
Gotta remember the highs. So Dawn, you had one more, right? Is that right?
Most delightful. Okay, so there was a website or an app that came out during the pandemic, which I'm sure was like, if I were a parent, it would have been my biggest nightmare. It's called Omegle.
Okay.
And talk to strangers. That's basically what it's all about. That's exactly what it's about. It's like, Well, what happened, I'll tell you how I came about it, but yeah, talk to strangers is their whole thing. And I remember when it came out during the pandemic, it was like, this has really gotten out of control. So, and the way they say it is Omegle is a way to make new friends even while practicing social distancing. Came up out of the pandemic. When you use Omegle, you are paired randomly.
Okay.
Yeah, with another person to talk one-on-one. What could possibly go wrong? Okay.
I mean, it's
You've not heard
randomly,
of
so it's not going to be like a predatory situation, I would think. I mean, less
Well, okay,
likely.
so let me expound on
Sorry,
that.
sorry.
Okay, no, it's okay. I was the same way because I was surprised it came back up through this through YouTube. Actually, I was watching something. So it says if you prefer, you can add your interest and you will be randomly paired with someone who selected some of the same interests. Okay. And usually it's what I have noticed on the ones that I actually were recorded and then replayed on YouTube. And you'll understand why in a sec. Is that the ones I saw is usually a couple or several kids like sitting in one place,
Mhm.
and then they're getting randomly paired, so they weren't alone,
Okay.
which is good, but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's required. I
It
mean,
should be right.
when I heard about Omegle a couple years ago with the pandemic, I was like, this is really bad. Like, this is really bad. So parents be aware of that. So here's what happened. So I was I don't know how it came about. I think it might have been through the Lionel U videos, the music videos that I shared last week for music therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so there's this dude named Harry Mack, and he's a pianist, and he went on Omegle. So basically you're on there, you're a kid, whatever, 14, 15, 19, whatever. You're sitting there vaping like some of them were. And all of a sudden, the person you're paired up with is somebody on YouTube who's a professional musician who's got like 4.5 million followers.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know who he is. And they're like, oh, you got a piano there? And they're like, yeah, you want us to play you a song? Yeah, play us a song.
Mm-hmm.
And they got all their hair and their blue hair and all. It's so fun. It's so fun. And so what happened is Harry Mack, then, who is a freestyle rapist, paired up, kind of surprise on Omegle with this pianist who is Marcus Veltri. And so these kids are just sitting there and they're like, what is this? And he does the little song, and then the other guys just like sets like he comes off from the side and sits
Mm-hmm.
down next to the piano and starts rapping. And the faces that the children were, I mean, I call them children, the kids, the people that were listening and surprised, it was just like a gift, like such a gift of music, and the surprise and delight on their faces. And just, they're like, can we Venmo you money? Like, I got a $10. And they're like, oh my God, you're on YouTube. You're famous. And so it was just like, it was so fun. It was just a fun little thing that I found, that just found me, I should say, on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And so Harry Mack, I'm going to leave the link for Harry Mack's channel in our description, and then Marcus Veltri. And then when I went to Marcus Veltri, he had more of those Omegle experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like a split screen, like we are here right now on YouTube.
Yeah.
Watching us. And he had a violinist, and there was, and I'm going to leave one particular video, was this young man, like kind of 20 something, and it looked like he might have been a musician because he had like a box from a piano behind him, and it looked like he had a piano in front of him. And it was Marcus Veltri and a famous violinist, and I can't remember who the violinist was, and they just did this amazing song for this dude. He didn't know what he was getting into. He's like, hey, he started crying. And I was crying. It was like, he was like, I had the worst day. And this is so beautiful. And it was just like so cool. And so, I mean, I had this feeling about Omegle from the beginning. And now when I see the good that it could do, and the beautiful things. I mean,
Mhm.
there are certainly dangerous things too, but it's not all bad. And, so I just kind of wanted to share that. So most delightful, it's kind of a combination of those three musical artists as well as Omegle, that app. But if you're a parent, be careful.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, Maddie. So So you hadn't heard of Omegle?
No, I was not familiar at all. No.
Really? Oh,
Really? For
okay.
real? For real? For
Got,
real?
got two kids, so I'm going to have to keep you up to speed on this.
Our kids' screen time is very restricted, so
Good.
for good reasons, I think. So yeah.
Oh, 100%. I mean, if I had a kid, they would have to share the computer in the living room or something. Like they couldn't have a computer off in the, no way. No, it's too dangerous out there. Well, Maddie, any final bonus thoughts or bonus thoughts? That we have for our audience before we sign off.
I know it's really hot out there in a lot of the country right now. On the Wednesday Pack a Day, Sarah was saying like, oh, it's gonna be really hot here, and then Steve and Dusty are both like, yeah, actually kind of the same where we're at, which is insane. So just do your best to try to stay cool, stay out of the heat if you can, be healthy about it. Don't be stupid. One of the worst days of the week, I went out and grilled that night like an idiot. I was okay, but I was drinking a lot of water to like just make sure to, do anything stupid with that. But so I say, just be safe. But otherwise, be good to each other, There's no need to be bad to each other.
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, two sides to everything.
That's
so
right.
Yeah, and drink and stay hydrated, right?
Hydrated.
I hate it when people. I got to tell you, I have a pet peeve. This has nothing to do with the show, but I'm just blabbing now. I have migraines, okay, and I have a neck injury, and I have a lot of different reasons I have headaches that have nothing to do with hydration. And a lot of people were like, well, did you drink enough water, And
yeah, my wife is always like, so I'm sorry, not interrupt you. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. No, that was it. It's just like, God, like, do I look that stupid to you? I hate that when people say that. Water doesn't cure everything. What does your wife do?
That's it. You were just her in a conversation we have all the time where she'll like list a thing that is clearly because she's not drinking enough water. It usually is. And I'll say, how much water have you been drinking today? And it's usually none. And she's like, that is from everything. It's like, but then she goes and has water and it's better. But anyhow, I drink excessive amounts of water. People have maybe noticed that I'm always like grabbing my water bottle.
Your sippy cup.
The sippy cup. I like that.
It looks like
a anyhow. So, hey, friends. Of course, you'll find links in our show description for everyone we mentioned, so please check it out. Also, we'd love to have a chance to interview you and shout you out if you're a subscriber and a football fan. If you'd like to nominate someone to be a guest on our podcast, please let us know. Our DMs are open on all the social platforms. And folks, when you subscribe to our podcast, you help us to keep spreading the love in our community. And the best way to help this podcast grow is by sharing it with your friends and family.
Yes, Maddie, that's right. We love you. We are so glad to know you, to be fans of you, and to have the luxury, many of us, of being fans of the most storied team in the NFL. We appreciate your support, your subscriptions, and sharing our pod. And we do look forward to seeing you next week on...
Hey, we like your pod. And let's go find a huckster hole. All right.
Football in general comes down to discipline and people owning their roles. And when you aren't disciplined or you go outside the scheme, bad stuff happens.